Hi, my name is Colin, and for this presentation, I'll be pitching a mobile game called Spoonful. My game is about a chef protecting his recent creation from thieving spoons trying to get a bite. This game scratches the itch for a quick-paced game with simple rules that you can pick up and play for a few minutes or for a few hours on end. It features a fun, quirky story where you play a chef protecting your delectable dish from spoons that move across the screen in random patterns. The player will have access to items and abilities to help them as the spoons dart across the screen for their target. With endless, score, and objective modes, the player has many options of play. This game is marked to a younger audience with a short attention span and an interest in food. The game will work towards an E10 plus rating, allowing for access to anyone who is interested in playing. The genre this game falls under is a mixture of arcade, survival, and action. The arcade is due to its roots being inspired by whack-a-mole, survival due to the game's endless mode, and action because it requires the player to be quick and responsive to play the game. The very basic level gameplay loop will consist of the game spawning spoons from certain points on the grid, which then move towards the bottom of the screen where the chef's prize food is. As the spoons move towards their goal, the player must tap them to stop them. For score modes, each spoon tapped will give the player a point, and in survival mode, each second that passes without taking damage, the player will earn points. In the third mode, objective, there will be ingredients spawning in addition to the spoons, which the player will want to not tap. Their goal in objective mode is to avoid the ingredients moving towards the goal while stopping the spoons. Once enough ingredients make it to their goal, the player wins. The player will have three core actions. The first is tapping spoons. This is the primary way to stop the spoons from reaching their targets. The second core action is playing abilities. These abilities will allow the player to do a wide range of things to help them stop spoons from progressing. One example is giving the player a large tap zone so that when a player taps, they hit multiple grid squares instead of one. Another would be limiting which column of the grid is open for spoons to go through to reach the food. The third core action is items. These are one-use items that the player can earn from the store or craft by playing objective mode. Example of items are creating walls in the grid that spoons cannot pass through, forcing them to move in certain paths. Another would be freezing the grids that means that any spoons passing through would slow down. These three actions will continue to expand as gameplay is done and more ideas are formed about what the player could do. The game can be broken down into three simple goals. However, players may prioritize them differently based on their playstyle. The moment-to-moment goal is simply surviving each round, whether that means living long enough to reach the score, getting all the ingredients in an objective mode, or surviving as long as possible. The sub-goal is unlocking all abilities and having a large collection of all the items. Since items are one use and will eventually need to earn more, but finding all the different items and keeping a supply of them is still a goal. The main goal is earning the highest score possible. For some people, the sub-goal and the main goal could be switched, but my reason for the main goal is that no matter what, you can always strive for a higher score. You can only unlock the abilities once. There will be a lot of feedback provided to the player to keep them invested and their attention focused on as the game progresses. A few examples are vibrating the mobile device when the player takes damage, creating a red glow around the border of the screen as the player takes more damage, a score to keep track of time or spoons stopped, and a health bar to visually show damage taken. More ways of feedback will be added as the game progresses in production, including audio cues for enemy spawning, being damaged, taken, being enemies being defeated, and ingredients scored. Since this game will strictly be on mobile devices, it will have a touch-based controls. The core part of the game is the player tapping spoons, which means the entire screen will be the controller as they tap away at the seemingly endless wave of spoons. The plan for this game is to be released on Google Play for Android devices, and eventually, after more testing, released on the Apple Store. As showcased on this slide, my game has three major selling points. The first is the low time commitment of the game, allowing the player to pick up and play at a moment's notice for however long they choose. It could be for a few minutes during a bathroom break or an hour or two while waiting at the doctor's office. The second selling point is its diverse mechanics. The game by nature will progress in difficulty the longer you play and continue. Endless levels will randomly spawn spoons, and speed can create a complex gameplay experience, even with the simple rules. The last selling point is the game's ability to let the player choose how they want to play. The plan is to create tons of different abilities that players can earn that can work in conjunction with the equally as different items, and provide the player with a ton of options and mix matching to find their unique favorite combos. In this slide, I would ask the live audience if they have any questions, but since this is pre-recorded, I will let you leave your questions in the comments of the video. I hope you're enjoying the initial pitch as we move towards the backlog session. The mood and theme of our game is naturally silly and humorous, taking a fairly unserious topic and giving it a level of spice to make it more appropriate or more important than it is. While our message is sarcastic, it does have a slice of truth. In the end, the game is meant to be fun and lighthearted. We want our players to enjoy a game without needing to worry too much about the details and relax. Our story begins with a chef finishing a masterful creation that fills the kitchen with an amazing aroma. The essence draws in everyone nearby who already has spoons. And then they try to sneak a bite of this delicious food without the master chef knowing. The chef, keen as ever, must fight off the attackers by smacking away their feeble attempts to steal a taste of the dish. Objective mode introduces more story. In objective mode, the chef is working on their next delectable dish, but the thieves are back, trying to steal food before it is even finished. The chef must defend against a horde of spoons, while letting the ingredients still make their way into the mix. Will the chef finish their meal, or will the hungry horde feast on an unfinished meal? The menu flow chart shown here shows the structure of each option the player has when starting the game. Since the point is quick and simple fun, the architecture of the menu must quickly access the game. Another design that will be tested is instead of a menu selection screen, bringing all three options to the main menu with a small options, abilities, and item button. These two layouts will be tested as game development progresses. The core systems of this game boil down to three different actions: spoons being spawned on the grid, spoons moving towards the bottom of the screen towards the player's health bar, and players tapping the spoons to stop them before they reach their goal. These are the core elements of the game, which is what I focused on in my physical prototype. I want to simulate those basic actions and see how playstyles would work and if I could find any outlying problems within. The core mechanics of this game are split into three sections: core actions, objectives, and player skills. For core actions, there is tapping the spoons and spoon movement, very similar to the core systems in the previous slide. For objectives, there are spoons, health bars, score, abilities, and items. Each has a specific goal to help or hinder the player. Spoons are the enemy, which the player must defeat. The health bar is a visual tracker for the player to know what they have not lost. The score shows the player how well they are doing depending on their game mode. Abilities, players can pick and let them pre-plan their strategies and help them on harder levels. Objectives or lasting longer in survival. Items allow players to work towards smaller goals and explore more dynamic playing while combining with abilities. Player skills are dependent on the player. Due to the game's fast nature, they will need to have a good hand-eye coordination and timing to hit their targets. In this slide, I showcase two different physical prototype boards used in my testing. While they are rudimentary and not digital, they provide a great way to test the layout of the grid for spawning spoons, health bar, sides of grid, and placement of visual cues for players. While the changes from version 1 to version 2 are more targeted towards playstyle of a physical board, it still provides great teaching moments for color designations and design layouts. In this slide, I showcase multiple different images of cookingware and food to give an overall color palette of what I'm working towards for my game. I try to make it very comparable to a mood board in style while showcasing two primary colors, red and gray. For this game, I plan to use two game engines displayed here and use one of the two game engines displayed here and Photoshop to create assets. When I start to create my digital version of my game, I will initially start with both engines to see which accommodates my mobile 2D game more. I have a little experience with audio creation, so I will need to do more research into that to see what I can use to create music and sound effects for my game. For this last slide, I have a link to my Adobe stock library, which has all the images I use in this presentation, except Figure 4. Figure 4 is on ESRB's website, and a link is provided. I'd like to say thank you for watching this pitch all the way through, and I welcome any creative suggestions and opinions you have. I intend to continue expanding my scope for this game as I progress, but due to the short development cycle, I want to focus on the core parts of my game before adding too many features. Thank you, and have a good day.